look at, less kind of, I don't know, you know, computery kind of screenshots of things. This is more of a, I think, more eye friendly. So, as you can see, let's go back. We haven't met. This is we meet every other month, so we haven't met since April. So we'll pick it up from there. Q1. We're comparing to 2025, and we're doing something real wrong if we weren't outperforming 2025 in Q1. So let's move. Like I was talking to Spencer earlier before everybody hopped on, and June is the first month we really have comparing apples to apples in terms of how many properties we have now and how many properties we have in June of 2025. We were full go in June 2025. So we have, if not most, 95, 96% of the units we've had on, I think we had 49 or 50 units in June 2025. So we're right about there now. So when it comes to, we'll start in May, outperforming in May again, again, 68% versus 44, ADR higher. And here we are in June, so which is really encouraging to see. And we know about the booking window in Sanibel, really the booking window across the portfolio is real short. So even in the first week of this date band here, in the 8th to the 14th, we took 17 bookings in on Sandalfoot in June. So people are still coming in, they're still booking in the month that we're currently in. We still have bookings coming in for June today. So really short window. People are saying weather's nice, let's go stay in Sandalfoot for a long weekend. Really good stuff. So 17 bookings came in for June last week. Already this is pacing last year at this time on the 14th of this month last year. We were at $221,000 in overall revenue for the resort. And then this is the number where we were on the 14th this year. So this is what we call pacing. So we're outpacing last year this week, and this is the final number last year we took in June. So we're already way above June's number of the final last year. We're still taking bookings in. So, here was our occupancy right this week is 74%. We increased it 4%, and this is where we ended up last year. Again, another little increase in ADR. So we can expect, in normal market conditions, we're going to expect a premium year over year, right? We're always going to try to get more every year, and that's basically, in a standard year. Some years we might be able to get more premium. Some years we might be able to be flat or less, depending on the market conditions. But it's pretty standard to get a premium year over year. And then we're outperforming the second quarter. So here we go in the third quarter. We got July's numbers here, and good 17 more bookings in July. We ended the year at 227,000 in July 2025. We're just about there now. We're probably going to hit that number or get real close to it after this week. And again, we're this is where we were last year that week, 42%. We're at 54, so outpacing July currently, and also in ADR. And you can see June and July, very similar ADR there, not too much. So we got 263 on average in June, 260 in July. August, these are the more challenging months when we come into August, September, October. But we're still taking bookings in, we're still taking bookings. We're slightly better than last year, where we were last year in revenue, and a little bit less in occupancy. So, and we're about flat in ADR. So, but still a little bit better in the overall revenue. September again took 4 bookings, a little bit better. We only ended last year September 30% occupied for the entire resort of September. These are really tough times to take bookings. Not too many people are coming in and going to sweat it out in September in Florida. But we do the best we can to still pick up bookings, get some traction, get people in for next year. Maybe we get a booking, they tell their friends, and they come for the higher peak seasons. But we always want to get guests in to get that experience, so they can experience the resort any time of the year. and which is encouraging. We're taking 230 last year, 230 this year versus 219 last year. We ended taking our average booking was 179 as a final last year. So looks like we're going to be ahead of that too. Coming into Q4, October, November, December, taking less bookings, booking window super short, so we're not expecting to see a lot here until the months come, until, we'll start picking up on fourth quarter, probably in the middle to end of the second quarter. But we do have some numbers here as well. And you can see the ADRs are improved over 2025. Going into 2027, I think this is where we didn't get a chance to really show our stars in 2025 because we didn't get the opportunity to have that rebooking campaign. So our rebooking campaign is pretty strong. We call every guest. We give them a call, we send them a text, we email. We're trying to get your guests back to the resort. We're trying to get them back into the unit they stayed in. So we have a good head start. What we like about having a head start is that, it's pent up demand. So, when people look at the calendar, say in, October, and they're planning out their February trip with the family on the, winter break, there's not going to be a lot of, there's not going to be as much inventory. So it lets us keep prices higher because we have demand already. So that's the important part about having, Jan, Feb, March, at a good head start, at getting those premium rates. So we took 2 bookings in January, again, headed pacing all 3 months, almost at 30% in February, which is nice to see. And as you can see, January is a tough one. Last year was really, really cold. Only were 44% for in 2026. In January, which we're trying to improve. So, so we're gonna use marketing. We're gonna use ADR. We're gonna try to balance that occupancy and ADR to get the bookings in. Obviously, February, March are killer months across the board. And we took 1 booking for April. So we are getting bookings in. A lot of these coming from rebooks. All right, booking sources, same page, looks a little different. I'll explain. So, so 2026, about 70% of all bookings are coming in direct. That means they're coming in from our 5 website. No, not 5. We have 5 websites altogether. Our main website and Sandalfoot's website, and then anything that comes in direct through the sales team, that's going to be direct. And then OTAs, those are your Airbnbs, VRBOs, and your booking.coms. So that's what we got going on for 2026. 2027, like I said, most of the bookings coming in for 2027 are from our rebooking campaign or strategy there. So they're going to be direct, right? They're going to come in through a link we send them, or they're going to come in over the phone on a phone call. And you can see Airbnb, pretty dominant over VRBO and booking.com. But again, the website, Sandalfoot website does great. Eric's going to go over the data later. You guys blow it out, that website. Pacing. So I'll go over this real quick. It's pretty grand. It's getting into the nitty gritty of things. But, resort wide, 55 units, ADR compared to 2025, up 17%, occupancy up 66. Guest nights up 85. And that's, guests don't, these, like I said, 2025, take it with all grain of salt. We're going to measure performance. 2027 is going to be the year where we're compared to 2026. So 2025, not a full year of data. So, when it comes to 85% guest nights, just remember, we weren't fully on till June. So, Jan through May, we didn't have all the units. And 2.65 on the overall revenue, which is really encouraging. And as you can see, we break it down by unit type. So we got 1 bedroom Gulf view. Everything's marketed as beach, but as terms of pricing, we price out buildings 1 and 5, and then 2, 3, and 4. So we got 1 bedroom Gulf view. Outperforming. We got the 1 bedroom beachfront, right? 6 units there. That's outperforming. And you can see this is 2025, the solid line, and then the dotted line is 2026 is a solid line, 2025 is a dotted line. And it's really focusing on the occupancy here, really, really doing a good job on getting people in. 2-bedroom golf. This is the most units in the group, 23. So again, and then 2-bedroom beach. And that's the 4 pillars there. And again, just 2027 performance, same data. Okay, and these are things that, like I said, we're really getting granular now. We look at the daily on the charts, right, to see what's coming in every single day, because we want to identify spikes, right? We want to say, okay, oh, July. I mean, obviously we got what's this, July 4th, right? So we're 95% occupied for the resort on July 4th, and we should be. But we're identifying spikes. Like, say this was just a regular, ordinary weekend, we would identify it, and we're seeing some sort of a spike here. We would add premium into that week. We want to take advantage of the spikes. And if it's a popular weekend or a popular 4-day weekend, we're going to add premium because we want to identify it early. And then we want to watch it gradually go higher, and we want to put some money into those spikes. And then that way, on the troughs, we're going to try to maybe lower ADR, keep it the same, or take advantage, try to do our best to increase these troughs, but really take advantage of the premiums on the spikes. And then you can see them here a little bit, but that's why we look at it day by day. Even this little spike here, we're identifying that. And that's what revenue management does. They're seeing this. They're looking day by day. It's nice to see on the chart, but it's really for you guys. It's really not. It's important to see, but it's really not going to help you. You guys really are more interested in the overall data there. Okay, and this is the occupancy. Okay, and so now we're looking at the OTA quality. I'm glad we put this in there. We started doing this about 2 months ago. So Airbnb, Booking.com, VRBO, they each have their own little quality, way of filtering out properties. So, I talk about it a lot. Airbnb, they have a Superhost account. It's called, the account's called Superhost. You got to have 4.8 minimum rating. This is we have one Airbnb account just for Sandalfoot, right? Because we want to take Sandalfoot and separate it from everybody else. So you guys have your own account. So you guys have a 4.9 overall rating, which is incredible. You need 4.8. And what's nice is that we have so many reviews. I think we get 50% of our Airbnb guests to leave a review, and that's really good for industry. So we have lots of reviews. So to move this number, we're going to need to be bad for a while. And I don't see this number ticking down anytime soon. I just see it, we're going to stay steady for a bit. And I really like that. There's a lot of reviews to back that 4.9. 96% response rate, criteria is 90. Completion ratio, we have 372 stays. We're blowing that up. And cancellation rate, so 0% on that. The target is less than 1. We get VRBO, so there's a Premier Host VRBO, 16 units on that. And these are just filters they use when they book. So if someone goes on VRBO, they're going to filter out. They want to see just Premier Hosts, right? And then these 16 properties will come up. Same thing with Airbnb guest favorite. They're going to filter out guest favorite. These 23, and we have 23 and 6. These are good numbers. It takes months and months and months of reviews and good performance to get on these lists. So don't be discouraged if your unit's not there. It takes a long time. So they come in one at a time, 2 at a time. They want to make it hard, right? Because that's what Airbnb wants to do.
Can you explain what it takes to get on those lists? Like what's making the difference between those 16 units and 23 units?
Yeah, so for Airbnb guest favorite, it's a minimum of 5-star reviews, and they just don't look at so when you go on Airbnb to leave a review, right? You're going to leave. There's 4 or 5 different things different items you got to leave reviews on, right? So it's cleanliness, communication, aesthetics. It's like, they have their 5 pillars, and then that adds up to a score, right? So if you're like 5, 4, 5, 5, 4, you're going to be like 4.8 or whatever it's going to be. So not only do we have to be a 4.9 or better, 4.8 or better, I think it is. You have to be 4.8 or better for all 5 of those criterias, you know. So that's the hard part. It's some people are 4.9, but they're not 4.9 across the board, right? And so then there's the percentage of people who look at your property versus booking. So that's an algorithm they use. So yes, Airbnb doesn't share us exactly how to get on this list, but what they do is they use their algorithm to say, okay, this place gets looked at, and 4 or 5% of the time people are booking, right? Which is probably pretty huge. I can see if 1,000 people look at a property and 10 book, or 100 book. I don't know what the criteria is, but they go off that algorithm. So it's not, so it has a lot to do with the review score, has a lot to do with the engagement on Airbnb. And if you're engaged, looking at the property, clicking through pictures, and you actually book, that has a lot to do with it too.
So yeah, also, Matt, each platform's different, but it does include number of bookings and number of guest nights. So even if you have,
Yeah.
5 5-star reviews, you still have to have, say, 10 bookings. So
Okay.
so each platform's different, but it's all based on reviews, number of bookings.
Yeah. Yeah. And VRBO is very similar. And then booking.com, they have, it's called Genius, and now that's their version. And we have one unit on the Genius, and that's very new. I think they just came out that a little while ago, but we are getting units on the Genius platform little by little here across the board in our portfolio. So it's nice. So it's really good to be on, and it takes a long time to get on, but Airbnb is quick to take you off. So you get a 3-star rating because it rained. They don't care. They're taking you off. And that's just the way it goes. So, it's that's why it's so important. That's why I said when we get this 4.9, it's so important for us to get bookings and get reviews and bring them all, and making sure we're doing a great client guest experience to get that 5-star review, to build a real strong bank of reviews. That way, when you get that 3-star because it rained, right, or the bed's lumpy, it's not going to be detrimental to your score. So, that's why it's such a focus to get people in and experience Sandalfoot all year round to get those bookings, to get the 5-star reviews, to build that bank. And then the social marketing media. Eric, do you want to go over this? So you can talk about the marketing in general after you go over your data.
Actually, I'm not sure what this one is. I don't think this is the social media.
Oh, this is the market analysis. Yeah, so we compare. Ocean's Reach is one of the they call it the sister property, right? Same builder, 1 and 2 bedroom beachfronts. The units are very similar. The amenities are very similar. So this is what we compare ourselves to. So we want to be competitive with Ocean's Reach. We're a little bit more expensive. They recently, a week or 2 ago, they put on the 50% late summer discount. So right now we're about $100 more expensive than them in this band in June for the 1 bedrooms. But again, they have, this is their occupancy. So, they're June, August, September, they're struggling just like everybody else. We're actually outperforming in August. So, that's just one of the resorts that we compare ourselves to. We try to use resorts to compare apples to apples. We don't want to compare ourselves to some place that's gonna offer crazy amenities that doesn't really compare to Sandalfoot, or something that's not going to be as strong as a resort as Sandalfoot. We want to make sure that we're comparing as apples to apples as good as we can for a comparison. And here's the social media marketing performance. Eric.
Okay, so yeah, this is for the last week. As you can see, the top left is going to be our social media. In the last week, we've had over 11,000 views. And these numbers, the pluses and the minuses, they're going to go up and down a lot from week to week. So it just depends on the posts. If we post a video we'll get 5,000 more views. And then next week, if we only post a picture, we have 5,000 less views. So those numbers are going to change pretty drastically. The one we really want to look at is the followers. We have 2,700 followers, and it went up 0.6% over the last week. So every week we want to keep adding followers to our account, so we have more and more eyes on the account when we do posts. The top right is the website, and this is for the Sandalfoot website. It doesn't include GCVR or Island Vacations. This is just Sandalfoot. So we had 1,200 visitors in the last week, which was 22% more than the week before. And we had 17 bookings for 34K. All those numbers are up over the last week. In the next couple months, those numbers will probably go down because, as Matt stated, we get into those other months where it's harder to get bookings. So we will see a drop off there. In the bottom chart, that shows how people get to the website and the bookings. So most of our traffic is going to be organic search. We do get direct, which is people typing in sandalfootcondo.com. Referral means it's coming from a different website. Paid search is our Google Ads. And we get bookings through our email campaign. We got 2 in the last week. Organic social, we get some traffic from organic. Very rarely are you going to get a booking from organic social media, but once in a great while you do. It's mostly going to be organic search, paid ads, and people typing in sandalfootcondo.com. But as you can see, we're getting people to the website in a variety of ways.
Yeah, and also social media, right, Eric? We're posting on social media. People go, they don't book over social media, but they can get driven to our link to our websites through there.
Yeah, exactly. So you're not going to see the bookings per social media, but it will lead people to the website, or leads people to actually call and book that way too.
Yeah.
And we're continuing to do social media posts 2 or 3 times a week. I know there's been a lot of video walkthroughs lately. More of those to come. And we're doing an email campaign that goes out every other week. If we do it every week, it's a bit much for people, but we found that like every other week is a good amount.
Can you go over some of the last couple and what's coming up?
So if I remember correctly, the last week we were doing a push for season. So even though, we're not getting close to season yet, we still want to push season yearly. So that way we can try to get those season bookings all throughout the year. The next one that goes out is going to be kind of a last minute 4th of July push to try to get any more bookings we can for the 4th of July and then for the summer months. So those are the next couple.
Right.
And in the next e-blast that goes out, we will be posting some of the 4th of July events in the e-blast.
Yeah.
A couple e-blasts ago.
Ann and Bob and some of the team there for helping us.
Some of the links that they sent over. And a couple e-blasts ago, we actually did 4th of July with some of the links too. But we will do that again because it's great for the guests to, have access to what's going on the island.
Exactly. Yeah. Right. Well, that's it for the report. When it comes to so that's the performance. Then when it comes to marketing, again, like Eric mentioned, we're putting something out. And Eric, can you explain the e-blast and where those go to and who's receiving them?
So the e-blast goes out to all of our previous guests, or even some people that just sign up on the website that want to, information. So, but the majority of them are going to be the previous guest list. So those are the people that we're just, we're emailing, we're trying to get them to rebook. It can also be people that, if they go on the website, they start to book and they enter their email, but they don't actually finish booking. We now have their email address, so we send them these e-blasts to encourage them to book.
It's cart abandonment, correct?
Yeah, the cart abandonment. But yeah, it's going to go to all the previous guests, and we now have several thousand email addresses that those are going to.
Great. Yeah, so it's important to get the head start for 2027. Cool. Now, any other questions from the rental committee? Any agenda you guys want to kind of go over?
Can you explain what we're doing to, I've noticed that like people used to always book for a week and it's much shorter. Are we trying to expand that or get new people, or what is your philosophy or strategy there?
So yeah, so we try to get people to book for this. So we always want to book, we always start with Saturday to Saturday in season. That's kind of our strategy to start. It helps with efficiency at the resort, and also it's longer stays, and that's always nice too. And as we move closer to the to uh, we call it expiring inventory, as we move closer to when the dates are going to kind of arrive and come and go, then we start pulling levers to break that. That way we can attract different guests. So if the guest, the 7 days, 7 night Saturday guest is come and gone, we want to change that maybe just to 7 nights to be able to book it any 7 nights. And then as we move closer to the dates, then we'll pivot from there, and we might change our pricing strategy, or we might go down to 4 nights or 5 nights a stay. And then, when it comes to after season, right, we're going to be at our minimum unless some owners have their minimum night stay different than what the board allows us to do. Then we're going to go down to the 3 night minimum across the board for the entire year. That's we have lots of ways we can move and attract guests and bookings before we move on price. And that's what the beauty of Sandalfoot is. We have a lot of flexibility to move different ways before we just say, okay, let's just drop the price, right? Because that's easy to do. But we don't want to do that. We want to go through every kind of avenue. We want to go through all the avenues and use them all to attract bookings.
And I can just add a little context to that, Matt. It's something we're seeing not just on Sanibel, but across Southwest Florida. Just the bookings trending to be shorter and shorter stays.
Yeah.
A few years ago, we were looking at an average stay across Southwest Florida of, in the realm of 2 weeks, and now it's down to about just under 6 days, 5 or 6 days.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, the average booking, I'm pretty sure the average booking on Sanibel is 5 days. So yeah, but we always start out. We want to do Saturday. We try to get even people who stayed 5 nights, maybe because they stayed 5 nights because they book later in the year. We still try to get them, let them know that right now we're booking 7 days. We try to get them to book 7 days, not 5. So yeah, we do push for the 7 days, Saturday.
It used to be that the pricing was pretty much the same for 7 days as 5 days. Has that changed? It must have changed.
Well, what we do is we do have the ability. It's called length of stay, where we can set pricing for someone to book 5 days and pay 7. But if it's pretty straightforward, we're just doing the nightly rate. Would be if they're paying nightly rate for 5 days, it would be nightly rate for 5 days. That'd be their rent. But we have used it where there's a length of stay. We call it length of stay strategy, where you can book, where someone books for 5 nights, but they're paying for 7. They don't see it on their end, but we on the back end we can set that up.
Okay.
So yeah, Gina has a question.
Yeah, Jan, hey.
Hi. I have a question about the inspection reports that we all receive. Is there a standard of what pictures we see from the inspector? Because it seems like when I look at them, I'm not getting like both bathrooms.
Okay.
And I had an incident, so I came there last week, and my sister-in-law came 2 days before I did, and my toilet paper holder was broke, and the toilet paper was on the counter of the bathroom vanity. And it was fine for us, but had that been a guest checking in, that would have kind of upset me. Well, I went back to look at the inspection report to see if I could tell anything, and there was no pictures of the bathroom, of that bathroom and that area. And there
Yeah.
were some other things too that in the inspection report that I was surprised passed. But I was just wondering if there is a standard, template that they go through and they take pictures of the certain items every single time and what
Yeah.
those are.
Yeah, you're right. There is a standard template for the inspection. And it sounds like something was missed on your end, and we can address that. But yeah, so in general, every inspector, they use their app, and their app is set up to bring up the Sandalfoot. They call it departure inspection. And it's the same inspection. Everybody should have the same template. They should, and if you have 2 bathrooms, both bathrooms should be on there, and they should be taking pictures of both bathrooms.
Okay.
And if there's something that's wrong, it's called a task. And that task opens up a work order for a maintenance coordinator to go ahead and
Right.
assign it, right?
Right.
And then we want to do all that before the guest shows up, and they don't know it's going to be an owner, especially an owner, showing
Yeah.
up to, to a toilet paper holder that is hanging off the wall or is on top of the sink. It's quite
Right.
embarrassing.
Right.
But
Okay, I was just
hopefully,
wondering if there was a
yeah, it's a
template that,
template. And
okay,
hopefully we're
that we
talking
would
about a
know, okay,
one-off.
this picture is missing, or, and then the
Yeah.
other thing that I wanted
Well,
to say
but
was,
I am glad you're getting the inspection reports, because we've had some difficulty with some owners on not receiving them.
Right.
So glad
Right.
hearing you're getting them. Yeah.
yeah, like I said, I was there last week. I was able to meet Pam and Juliana and Peyton. It was really great meeting them. The other thing that I am sensing that these reviews are extremely important, and I know my unit is not on the Airbnb favorite, and I would love for it to get there.
Mhm.
So when I was in my unit and stayed there for a couple days, I decided to go through and just replace things that looked worn. I'm having Peyton order me new beach chairs. I thought, well, I would like to have a crock pot in the unit if I was staying here, so I ordered a crock pot, things like that.
Mhm.
I think are very helpful, and I'm hoping that makes a difference.
Yeah, and it will, because it's funny, because when people leave those 5-star review, everything needs to be great, right?
Right.
It's a great experience, and it's hard to get 5-star reviews, and
Yeah.
it's not an easy thing. We'll get 4-star reviews, everything looks great, but I didn't realize I had to walk up 5 steps.
Right.
So like stuff like that. Meanwhile, the stairs are in the picture. So, but if what happens is, if you can, the experience, we can provide a great experience, communication. If you guys as owners can, and we can help you with this, if we see that something, maybe it needs replacing, right? It's just been time. Or if you're saying, like, you stay in your unit and like, man, I'd like a crock pot. It's not
Yeah.
on our list, right, to have a crock pot, but you think it might be great. That's and they all of a sudden see a crock pot and they use it. They're gonna get a 5-star review because you went above and beyond. So, yeah, if as owners, if you guys are staying in your unit, or if you want us to add anything, or, if something, you say, hey, let's replace this. We had a great conversation with an owner, and, one of the reviews, she's got great reviews, and I'm being very nitpicky. And one of the reviews says, everything was great. I wish there were fans in the bedrooms. So I asked the owner, I said, hey, your place is on the guest favorite. It's doing great. I'm being nitpicky, but I gotta say something here. And she's putting fans in the bedroom. So, and it's just these little things that, could step up the game, that's gonna get you that 5-star review.
Right. I
Can I make a
totally agree.
recommendation instead of doing it one-off, though? It'd be nice if we had kind of a standard, hey, most requested things, or, when you see it in one place, here are things that people really like, so that we can all kind of raise the standard instead of doing it one-off, that we benefit from the knowledge of
I love
others.
that idea. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
a great
sure.
idea.
Yeah.
Because I think people will step up. They just need to know what to do. That,
Mhm.
and maybe we look at the units that are on those lists and what are the things that they have, so that everyone can raise
Yeah.
their
No,
standards.
for sure. We
And
had an
like,
owner, Yeah, I completely agree. And I'm not shy about calling you guys and saying, hey, this is what I look at the reviews. I'm getting, most of the reviews are 5 stars. So what I got to do is I got to read the 5-star reviews, because what they'll do is that they'll do the 5-star review and they'll leave this one little thing. They say, you know what, everything was great. I wish they had this one little thing. So I got to read the 5-star reviews too. So I'm reading thousands of reviews, because most of them are 4 and 5-star. There's no disasters, right? So what I got, it's nitpicky stuff that sets you guys apart. And so I'm trying to find those nitpicky feedback. It's it's difficult. And all you guys have supplied, your outfitted your place is just great. So it's hard to find what you need, but the only way you know is if the guest lets us know. So and that's what I do. So if you receive a call from me asking for the craziest thing in the world, realize it's not me asking for some crazy thing. It's because I saw it in a probably 4 or 5-star review that said, what a wonderful stay, but I wish there was a toaster oven instead of a toaster.
Right.
So I can make my slice of pizza in the toaster oven and not have to go in the oven. That's the kind of stuff we're talking about. But it does separate from 5-star to 4.5. It's silly, but it is in the business we're in.
Well, Peyton was so sweet to offer to order me new chairs. After a year and a half, and we had purchased the all aluminum ones, but they're still, after a year and a half, they're worn. They look like they need to be replaced. So she is able to do that for me since I'm not there, and it's just great.
Good. Yeah, that's great. That's great to hear. Yeah, she just moved into the office there, and she's been good. Yeah, it's a funny business with the reviews, and they're so important. Any other questions, guys? Hey, Zach, anything to mention? Anything to add, guys, on the Gulf Coast team?
No, just getting to that time of the year where things, everybody gets to take a breath and step back for a second as the occupancy drops. But like Matt said, we're not seeing, especially compared to last year when we were still kind of semi-opening, we're not seeing the same level of occupancy drop off that we would typically expect this time of year, especially for Sandalfoot. So everything's still, from all the data we have, we've got basically half the resort as a guest favorite now. It's, everything is trending exactly in the way we'd like to see it trending.
Yeah. And for those who are sharing with us on the marketing team, links to things, events, articles, history stuff, please keep doing it. I send it to Eric, or if Eric's on it, he'll post it, and people love seeing that stuff. So continue to do so. I'm talking to you, Bob.
We'll try and keep up with it.
All right. We have an hour slated, but we don't have to take the whole time if everybody's good. If you have anything you need from me, Pam, or the team there at Sandalfoot, please reach out. We're here to help you guys. I think 2026 is shaping up to be a good one, and we're really looking forward to 2027. We have a nice head start. We're going to use this time to go into units. I know some of the units might have a bunch of stuff on the lanai. We're cleaning out. I think they're doing a good job at that. While they're doing that, they'll take a look, like Gina, like you said, the chairs. Sometimes they just get rusty, and they get used. They get the salt from the sand and the ocean. Sorry, the Gulf, and sometimes it just need replacing. So don't get mad when we say, "Hey guys, time to replace the chairs." We're not doing it because we want you guys to spend money. We're doing it because we think it's going to be the best for the guest experience. Okay. Well, we got nothing else. Gulf Coast team, anything else?
We covered everything pretty good.
Okay, guys. Well, I appreciate everybody's time. You guys know where to find me. Let me know if you have any problems or issues, concerns, comments, you want to share anything. I'm here, Pam's here, Sandbell team's here, so we're good. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Have a good one.